they give you a picture. It's of your very first little baby embryo, which is pretty cool to be able to see that. And then as they're placing the embryo, you actually get another little picture of where they place it. So that bright spot right there is the actual embryo. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about the first embryo transfer we ever had, which is right now the only transfer we've ever had.
And this was about 5 months ago, maybe?
Yeah, March 28th was the day of the transfer. And we just thought we'd give you a little bit of the backstory of how we came to it, and then kind of just the protocol and all the things that you have to do when you get ready for a frozen embryo transfer.
Yeah, I didn't have to do anything, but I did.
He did have to give me shots.
Yeah, I kept track of some things, gave her shots occasionally.
Yeah.
But so let's just start from back when we started getting ready for the transfer.
Yeah, well, the first thing that happened was that right in the midst of all of this, I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, and I was having a really severe flare-up when they found it. And so that just brought everything to a screeching halt. We had to wait until I was in remission to be able to move forward and do anything. And that was kind of a bummer because, you know, we knew that things were wrapping up with our contract and everything. So we were really thinking, oh, we'll get to transfer here soon. And that's just not really how that worked out.
That was about a year ago, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And so because of the UC, we waited, got a cleaner bill of health from the doctor. That took a while.
Yeah, a little faster than we expected, though.
Yeah.
My doctor said that it could be a year or more before I was in total remission from the UC, and it was actually only about 6 months. By the time I had a follow-up colonoscopy in January, it was in remission, and he kind of gave us the green light to move forward with the transfer.
Right, so that was this January of this year, and once we knew we could go ahead with it, we were just going for it. So we started the protocol pretty soon after, like in February or March?
Yeah, in February. It was actually really surprising because, you know, I wound up going in for an ultrasound. They wanted to do a baseline and see how everything looked. And I went in and immediately they were like, oh, you have some tissue or fibroids that we want to remove. So I had to schedule a hysteroscopy so that they could go in, and you go under anesthesia, and then they just kind of clean out the uterus of anything that could cause an embryo to maybe not attach.
Right, they're aiming for the best possible outcome there. So they're looking at everything that's in there, and that was our RE that did that, right?
Yeah.
So she was getting an idea of like if there'd be any problems.
Yeah. So she cleaned all of that out, and, you know, but in my mind, I still need to wait until I know whether my UC is in remission. And so it actually was really surprising when the doctor's office called me and was like, all right, when do you want to have your transfer? We have this date next month open. And it just kind of like blew my mind. I actually picked a later date a few weeks after what she offered because it was so unexpected.
Right.
And, you know, later I kind of wished that I had just gone ahead with the earlier one because the anticipation is so great when you're leading up to it. So once we got to that point and I was in remission and I could schedule the FET, we got that on the calendar, and then we just kind of started looking into some things that we could do to make it a little better. So one of the things we did was Whole30, which we've done before.
Yep.
But just really wanted to do again. You know, because I have an autoimmune disease and things, inflammation can sometimes be a factor.
Right, basically it's just like anybody else getting pregnant. You want to be as healthy as you can leading up to the transfer. So yeah, we did Whole30 for a month. We did, at some point you started taking supplements.
I started taking prenatal vitamins and doing some of the things that they say can help increase your lining thickness, like eating pineapple core and drinking pomegranate juice. And I did some extra things, like castor oil packs. You put castor oil and a heating pad on your stomach, and that's supposed to
and bone broth
help.
Bone broth.
I drank bone broth, which was my least favorite thing.
They also just want you to, I think in general, eat more red meat, or at least for us.
Yeah, like lamb, things with iron in them are
Yeah.
supposed to help because it is supposed to increase blood supply to
So
your
we were eating
uterus.
pretty good, and leading up to that first check, when they see how your lining's doing, they see, I don't know if they check for anything else.
Mostly just to
Yeah.
still make sure nothing's grown back
Right.
that they need to remove, and then check your lining. And we were so nervous before that lining
Right, because they
check.
want you to be at least 7 millimeters, is what
Mhm.
they say, and they're also looking for a certain type of lining pattern.
Yeah, they look for a trilaminar lining.
Which honestly, I have no idea what that means. It's just what they say. I assume it's some kind of pattern in it. But there's studies that have been done that say if your lining's over 7 millimeters and trilaminar, you're in kind of the better range for a successful FET.
They won't even do your FET if you're under 7 millimeters when you go in. So if you go in and they check it and you're under 7 millimeters, it can push back the date of your transfer, which is why we were so nervous, because if it's not thick enough, then you have to keep trying to do things. So even before that, you're having to do estrogen suppositories. So they're vaginal suppositories, and it's 3 2-milligram pills, and you have to do those morning, afternoon, and night. And that's kind of what helps build your lining, and you do that for about 2 weeks before you go in for the lining check.
Right, so all of that's going on. We're doing that. It's almost 2 or 3 weeks, and then we went for the check, and everything was awesome.
Yeah, my lining was 8, kind of towards the middle of my uterus, and then as it got higher, it was at a 9, which is it's a pretty respectable lining.
Yeah, it's decent. It's enough, and those are the ranges that you need to have. So when that happened, they were like, yeah, you guys are good to go. And the other thing that we just started doing, well, was it before the lining check or not? No, it was after. It was the shots.
After.
It was after. Okay, so once they say you're good to go, then you start doing the shots.
Yeah, you'll have your lining check. You'll go home, the doctor will review everything, and then you get sent a schedule of your progesterone and then exactly what time you're going to have your embryo transfer. So typically they do 5 days of progesterone shots, and you have to do them at the same time every night leading up to it to make sure you have the exact number of hours of progesterone that is standard for people to have a receptive uterus.
And at the time we weren't telling anybody. We kind of wanted it to be a surprise if we got pregnant, so we weren't telling anyone. So we'd be like, oh, we gotta go. We're hanging out with friends. We're like, we gotta be home at like 8.
Yeah.
I don't know what people thought, but anyway,
it was awkward timing.
Yeah, you really got to be on that schedule and do it at the exact same time. Otherwise, I guess things get out of whack. So we did that, and after the 5 days of progesterone,
it was transfer day, which was so exciting. It was honestly one of the most special, magical experiences. It was just so much cooler than I think either of us expected.
Yeah.
So kind of you wake up transfer day, and it's kind of tradition to wear special socks. And so I had these really cute socks that Dan actually got me for Christmas that year that I kind of thought of as my good luck charm. So I wore those, and just you dress pretty comfortable. And we went into the clinic, and I mean, it's
not like an operation. You don't have to. You can eat beforehand. I think everything was fine.
Everything's
you can
fine.
eat. You can drink.
Kind of the only restriction was no scents. So I couldn't wear
that was interesting.
Scented deodorant or lotion. Apparently the embryos, when they're out of the catheter, are really sensitive to smell.
Yeah.
Like the chemical makeup of scents.
And not just smells, but they actually did give us a list of things to avoid during, for the transfer day, and then right after. Because I remember, Benadryl is on there. You're not supposed to take a Benadryl during the transfer. Do you remember that?
I know.
Well, I remembered it because you take it at night. And so I was like, oh, that might not have helped anything, but it didn't matter before or after. It was just during the transfer. So there were some instructions that they gave us that you're supposed to follow on transfer day. The scents was the biggest one because you're really supposed to avoid anything. Soap that's scented, perfume that's scented, hair stuff, anything. So
yeah.
But yeah, then you go in. It's pretty low key. You're just hanging out in the room.
For the ladies, it's pretty much just like a pap smear, which is not fun, but not really a big deal.
It wasn't a big deal. And you're in this kind of dark room. I mean, it's just kind of chill, and they've got some monitoring equipment up, and they're not even the doctor comes in a little bit, goes out. They have an embryologist who's with the embryos right at that moment. doing the thawing and making sure it's all okay, and like having the picture of the embryo, which we have.
Yeah, we actually they give you a picture. It's of your very first little baby embryo, which is pretty cool to be able to see that. We weren't expecting to be able to look at it, and so that was really cool. And then as they're placing the embryo, you actually get another little picture of where they place it. So that bright spot right there is the actual embryo. And so it kind of makes you feel a little more involved in the process. You know, I would say one of the toughest parts of infertility is just, it's all such a like sterile and controlled environment, and it just doesn't feel like you're that connected.
And she couldn't see it, but like when they were placing it, like I could actually see the little bright dot on the monitor going to that spot that they had picked out. I don't know what made.
Could see it.
Could you see it? Oh,
Yeah.
okay, I didn't know. So yeah, they knew the exact spot they wanted to put it for hopefully the best chance of implanting, and you see it move up and then go in and
then they actually flush water through the catheter just to make sure that by some freak accident they don't accidentally like pull the embryo back out if it's stuck in the end of the catheter.
There have been apparently cases of embryos staying in the catheter, and then 2 embryos being transferred to the next patient. And of course, you can imagine the kind of lawsuits and things that go along with that. So they have all these procedures to make sure everything's clean, and they check out the catheter later to make sure it hasn't stayed in. I mean, they're very careful. So they know it's in there, and they've watched it go in, and they've put it in the best spot, and then that's it. Like that's it. Like there's like you're just like okay.
Well, and some clinics even make you lay there for a little while, and some of them will even like incline the table so that you're like, you know, tilted with your head towards the floor. But they were just like, all right, get dressed, get out. We decided to just make it a really big deal and celebrate a lot. So we actually rented a Airbnb in this amazing apartment.
It was a little staycation here in Kansas City.
Yeah, just for one night, and we went out to lunch. It's kind of a tradition, old wives' tale, that if you eat fries after your transfer, and it's especially connected to McDonald's fries, but we decided to go to Red Robin, get burgers and some steak fries, and then
I got sweet potato fries. I don't do steak fries.
That's true. So we did that and ate, and then we went home and fed the cats and got all of that taken care of, and
relaxed.
then we just went to the rental. We rented a movie. We got pizza and ice cream.
It was the excuse to eat anything we wanted.
Yes.
I mean, she was pregnant, so we had that chance to just go all out, enjoy it, and hope for the best.
Yeah, we played board games, and something that we thought was kind of fun to do was that when we very first signed our contract and the embryos were officially ours, we decided to celebrate by going out to Buy Buy Baby, and we picked out a couple baby things. And one of the things that we got was this super cute blanket. Growing up, I loved Winnie the Pooh, and you know, we don't know the genders of any of them, so I found this awesome gender neutral, just really,
it's super soft,
pretty, like fleece minky blanket of Winnie the Pooh, and they say to kind of keep your uterus warm, no heating pads or anything, but so I just spent a lot of the next couple weeks, I slept with it every night as kind of a good luck charm, and I sat with it over my tummy when I was on the couch or just relaxing, and that was kind of a fun, special thing to do too, to help me feel more connected to.
You mostly just slept, chilled, watched Gilmore Girls, we hung out, played games, and snuggled in a blanket.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of the story of our first transfer. Obviously it was not successful. I'm not pregnant right now, but we'll kind of get more into that in the next video or two about that whole process, because it was very, very long and drawn out, and lots happened in the months following that transfer in March. So.
Yeah. So we'll do that in another video. It's a long story, and so just stay tuned. If you have any questions about the transfer process or what we did leading up to it, feel free to ask in the comments, and we'll answer. We'll let you know as much as we remember. It was several months ago, but yeah. So
please like and subscribe to this channel. We'll be updating once a week, usually on Mondays. We'll be posting a new video. Click the bell if you want a notification. And we just really appreciate you watching and listening to our story.
We'll see ya.